Welcome to another episode of T2C Podcast, where we dig into the heart of GovCon and uncover the strategies that lead to true success in public industry. I'm Todd Wilson, your host for today's episode titled Scaling Success, and the founder of Entellect, where we're committed to redefining the GovCon space through strategic innovation and transformative solutions. Today, we're joined by a remarkable guest and colleague, Marcia Watson. Marcia's journey from her pivotal role at General Dynamics Information Technology, or for those of us in industry like to say GDIT, to her impactful work with Native American tribes and organizations, showcasing her dedication to excellence and meaningful change. Together, we'll explore the dynamic world of proposal operations as a service, a game-changing approach that's setting new standard for efficiency, effectiveness in the GovCon sector. Whether you're a small business owner looking for that competitive edge or a seasoned player in industry, this conversation promises to shed light on strategies to elevate your operations. So let's dive in this unfiltered discussion and uncover the key nuggets to scaling success in GovCon. Marcia, welcome to the show, and thanks for sharing your invaluable insights with our listeners. Please say hello to our intellectual listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hello, intellectuals. So, of course, my origin story in proposals is pretty similar to anyone else's. But first, I'll give you a quick backstory. My degree is in mass communications, and my first career was in commercial television production at Comcast in the DC market. That was around when Google was becoming a household name, and when TiVo came onto the scene, and I'm creating commercials, and I'm fast forwarding through them on my own couch. So having, make the commute down I-270 in Maryland for more years than I should have, making not enough money doing nothing that was going to get me anywhere, I needed a change. So I met up with a friend of mine who was a program manager at GDIT. And he had a digital scanning project here at the Army base in my hometown that I worked on just long enough to have my children, be a brain dead mom for a little while and just, get things accomplished. That took about 18 months. When that task was done, I looked around the office and I was like, why is everybody so busy? What is going on? Everybody's running around like lunatics all the time. So I said, what is this? And can I help? Like, what are you guys doing? His answer was proposals. My response was, what is that? And that's kind of where it got started. The rest was history.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to go and jump into the proposal business or know exactly what it is, even though, to the industry's credit, there are certifications and there are college courses now on
Yeah,
our
yeah.
profession. So we've come a long ways um, to that. So, Marcia, your expertise in navigating the complexities of proposal management is really commendable. And what a great origin story. We'd love to hear more about the moment or the influencing factor that compelled you to leave industry and to join BTW and Company.
There's a lot that goes with it, and it's funny because with my communications background, my education is selling to audiences. So while at GDIT, it just came natural to be in proposals. In the first few years I was there, I got promoted every year, from coordinator to proposal manager, senior, and then I ended up running a small department inside the group that we were supporting. But at the same time, having one of the vice presidents come and join me in my cubicle and say, I pay more in taxes than you make in a year. While I am just coming out of a long weekend in the office by myself in August without the air conditioning turned on, working on a $300 million IDIQ that pays his salary. So the cynic in me is like, I don't know what's going on here, but that's not fun. So at the same time it was 2012, the economy is changing, the work is going to service disabled veteran owned small businesses, and I don't see that their recompetes are really trying to keep up with where the work is going. I'm new to the field, so I'm not saying anything, but I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So after a little while, I kind of wanted to see what I could do. What can I do for small business? GDIT has plenty of money. They're making money off my back left and right, and not appreciating it at the end of the day. So my last day at GDIT was February 15th, 2023. So nearly 11 years ago.
Wow.
After that, I went and worked for a small 8A, graduating 8A inside the Beltway. I showed up on my first day. He handed me 12 RFPs, the CEO, and then went on vacation for 4 weeks. When he came back from vacation, he and I had a bit of a discussion of, right, later, um, you know, why are these proposals further off in their process? Why haven't you gotten all the pricing from all the teammates? And I'm like, what do you think is happening here? That is a lot of work for one person to do. So after a brief discussion of how he wanted his proposal operations to work and how I thought it needed to work, I left. That was March 17th, 2013. I was literally there for 5 weeks. So at that time, I started consulting independently because I was just like, I want to help small business. I just want to help small business. I have instincts. I know how to sell. So at that time, I was consulting with the tribally owned organization that I worked with previously. I had partnered with them while at General Dynamics. So it just seemed natural to gravitate in that direction. At the same time, that first year with that company, we had a $300 million win rate. Remember, that was the one contract value that I won at GDIT. And it was a year cumulative of contract wins for the organization. I was there for 10 years. I wanted to learn everything there was to learn about 8A contracting, about how to grow these small businesses for this tribe and do the right thing for the citizens of that tribe, and know that what I'm doing is not just bringing revenue into an organization. It's establishing jobs. It's creating work. It's growing economies. It's providing for a community. And so that's what brings me value. So after 10 years at Cherokee, I'll name them, we went from that $300 million in my first year to over $2 billion in contract wins by my 10th year there. And I kind of felt like my work here is done. They really started to understand what they needed to do. So why BTW? Well, having left Cherokee, I met up with my former partners, my former director under me at Cherokee, Teresa Thomas, and her former colleague, Maggie Bullard, who are the T and the B to my W in BTW. And we really kind of had that mindset of, by the way, proposals don't have to be this hard. We really want to help small businesses understand the process, understand what they need to do to drive their business into a growth trajectory that they didn't even think was possible.
Yeah. And that's such a similar story, I think, to those of us who have consulting companies like yours, my own, and others that are out there, that these, you can't do what we do without having such a diverse set of experiences. And so, yes, there are really great, companies out there that are new to the market and they've got some innovative ideas and thoughts. But at the end of the day, it's those situational scenario moments that really kind of ingrain and like allow us to have these very critical on the job experiences, whether they're good or bad. They really do transform and impact us and how we approach problem solving and critical thinking, which I think is really kind of important in this industry. And this is kind of what we're going to go into and dive more into here, in our next segment. So, as we discuss proposal as an operation, as a service concept, there's software as a service, there's everything as a service anymore, right? I'm just curious about its alignment with the strategic growth objectives of a business. Can you share a little bit about your insights on the strategic foresight required for these organizations to adopt a model? Because this model is not for everybody. And how do you weigh in the long-term benefits of this integration against the initial challenges and investments that it might entail? Because there is an investment, there is there is an implementation challenge and phase. There's a whole organizational dynamic change culturally, how rethink, operating in this, new reality for them. So walk us through, some of those challenges and how do you successfully, integrate this into your organization?
Yeah, it's funny. It follows my same career path, starting in this industry. You start out small and you grow from there. You expand your capabilities, you expand the size of your team, but you have to start with that small initial investment. Even, while I was starting at GDIT, a very large organization, I was an in-house proposal manager. They had a proposal shop at the corporate headquarters, but for this small unit who had just been acquired as a small business of themselves, you know, they needed somebody in-house sitting and helping them get to the next step. Where do I start? I pull an RFP off the vice president's desk and I read it myself. I pull technical writing off the job of the senior program manager who's supposed to be on site working with their client, and I manage that piece myself. So it's that taking the responsibility off of the person who needs to be focused somewhere else and bringing it out of house so that it can still get done to a degree of quality that small businesses can't expect to obtain. And I think that's where the investment comes in. It's replacing these executives, the senior leadership, those who are growing and running this business that is their lifeblood, taking some of that weight off of them and outsourcing it. It's that simple. It's outsourcing the basics of proposal operations. It's getting those knowledge libraries set up, pulling content and having regular quality reuse content. So it's really a matter of, bringing in the right resources to meet the company where they are in their growth. If they've got somebody in the position of a chief growth officer, that person's probably writing RFI responses. It's not a good use of their time. One of the reasons why I've been able to grow departments is, I start off small and then I come in and I go to leadership and I say, you do realize that I am the most high paid resume formatter you could possibly imagine, because that's not the job that I should be doing in my role. And it's the same thing. Let me get somebody else who's equipped and qualified to do that role, and you'll move your opportunity forward in a time frame you didn't know you had, because you're literally outsourcing your time. And that's the investment. You're not paying another full-time resource to come in, wear a bunch of hats, and try to get the same amount of jobs done without any more additional time. It's a finite commodity. So where I use the analogy is, the 8A program is a long-term program, for businesses to learn how to get from that direct award into that competitive market. It's a 9-year program. It has phases. It has milestones that you need to be able to reach from a revenue perspective in order to stay in that program, and the comparisons of what your direct award ratio is to what your competitive ratio is. And as those years go on, that ratio flips. Well, if a small business is used to obtaining direct awards, they're not learning how to compete. And so they're not learning how to fight against that GDIT or that $100 million tech company that, has been running this software tool forever. They're struggling just to get a quality proposal out the door. So when you take that akin service to software as a service, I use the analogy of a tennis match, right? So there's a tennis match. What are you going to bring to the tennis match? A tennis racket. What if you don't have one? Well, I've got a badminton racket. That's close. I've got a lacrosse stick. I can restring that, bring it to the game and see what happens. And that's what they're really trying to do, is make the most of what they have in order to be able to win. Why look at it this way? Don't waste your money on a ping pong paddle to try to take it to a tennis match. Borrow my racket. Come to BTW, or, as far as I know, we're the only ones operating this way right now. So hopefully we don't, draw our own competition out. But, borrow my racket. I've got a proposal manager. Borrow my my tennis balls. I've got a capture manager or a solution architect. Borrow my shoes. I've got a technical writer. Borrow my sun visor. I've got a business developer. We will get you in the position that you need to win that match with the proper tools, the proper resources at the right time. It's nothing that they can afford if they bring in all of those resources that we in this industry know are required to be successful at a time where they just don't have the revenue or the budget to do that. So it's allocating the appropriate budget to where you are in your life cycle in-house, and then supplementing with that investment out of house so that your products are quality products, your knowledge library is solid, you know where your information lies, then as you start bringing in those full-time folks, it's a learning curve, it's a transition. We'll teach them how to do that work. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to be long-term relationships with our clients to phase them into being what they need to be. I don't mind working myself out of business because there's always going to be proposals in that
Yes.
sense. And hopefully, we can still work on that aspect. But to get those companies where they need to be when they just don't have the right infrastructure in place to get there, they're just going to keep trying, swinging, restringing
Yep.
that lacrosse stick and hope it works. It doesn't work. We know it
Yeah,
doesn't work.
I know. Well, I'm a lacrosse mom, so that analogy really resonates with me, and I think that's the reason why I enjoy our conversation so much is that we both have a very similar and shared philosophies about how we approach our client support. Um, you know, we've been in business for 20 some plus years, and I would like to say that we led the industry in being the boutique. We're not the large shop. We're not the biggest, baddest name in town. But I think from our perspective, who our customers are and what their needs are, is that I think very much like you, I think very much in labor categories. Think about CLINs, right? You have a specific CLIN that does a specific thing that has a specific set of responsibilities and qualifications and capabilities. And so you plug in the right people. And I love that whole being an overpaid, like desktop publisher or resume formatter, like that, those are really great initial starts for outsourcing some of your work to a proposal as a service type of provider like yourself and like Entellect. And so with that, I think the biggest challenge that a lot of companies face is they don't trust that you're going to do the job right or as well as they do. And in some regard, maybe that might be the case. But in most, what I've seen is no, we actually do it quicker, better, faster than you because we have all of these other resources or we have this institutional knowledge and experience that maybe you don't have. But the side effect benefit to bringing in a boutique shop like both of ours is that the company now is benefiting from other experiences and other knowledge that they would not normally have if they grew it organically internally with just their own resources. So we're the right tool at the right time for the right activity. And like you said, not using it for the wrong way. But yeah, I think that was a great way to summarize, I think, how you can not only continue to grow and build your own organization so that you can be self-sustaining, but at the same time still deliver a quality product and meet those deadlines and do what you need to do in order to be successful and be able to afford more of my business and more of my support.